Stand up, you frog-eating fudge-to-gods. I will fuck you up, man.
Hey, ow! I want my money! Fuck you!
Bonjour, everyone. Just me, Rob, here today. We had a little scheduling conflict, so I figured I'd hop on here and do a solo pod. We will see tis next week. So we got to talk about this UFC Paris card. Probably one of the best fight nights of the entire year. On the prelims, I mean, we had 7 straight finishes to start it off. That was absolutely incredible. Some good ones on the main card, too. Today, since it's just me, we're just going to dive into the main and the co-main event. So without further ado, let's talk about it. Nasruddin Imavov defeats Kyle Borralho by unanimous decision, 249-46s and 150-45 scorecard. And Imavov gets it done on home soil. So to break down the fight itself, I really think that Imavov did a great job at making Borralho counter, which I think we're starting to see that he is not very adept at. I think Borralho, and honestly all of the fighting nerds, I think that they do a lot better going forward than they do backing up. And I think that was proven on this card, as we'll really get into. But in terms of this fight, I really think Imavov forcing Borralho to counterattack is really what won him this fight. I don't think Borralho was doing a very good job at countering Imavov. Imavov had a very good read on Borralho's tendencies, and it just seemed like he knew what Borralho was going to throw before he was throwing it. At points in this fight, it almost looked like Imavov was like the 2017 Houston Astros, knowing what was going to happen before it happened, because there were a lot of points where Borralho was just trying to counter and he was swinging at air, and I thought that was really impressive. You'd be surprised at the stats in this fight. The striking numbers were actually pretty close, but I don't think anyone really thought that Borralho was winning the fight. I think at most it could have been 2-2 going into the 5th round, but I think most people probably had it 3-1 Imavov, including myself. And I do think that Imavov, he's in a weird spot because he's obviously one of the best middleweights in the world, but I feel like to the casual audience, he doesn't really get as much hype as he should, especially considering that this guy's beaten Israel Adesanya and beat him handily, and now he gets a win over another top contender here. You'd have to imagine he's really close to the title shot. I think that right now at middleweight, there's a lot of guys that are up there right now who could be the next fight for Khamzat. I think right now Imavov has put himself in the best possible position, but we still have a big middleweight title fight in October between Renier de Ridder and Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. So we have to see what happens in that fight before we really anoint Imavov as the next top contender. But I think he's put himself in a really good position with his most recent victories. And I really think that Imavov, he's almost still underrated, which is crazy to say about someone who's possibly the top contender in the division. And I think that the hardcore fans really know how good Imavov is. But, again, this is a guy who's beaten Israel Adesanya, Kyle Borralho, Jared Cannonier. He has some huge wins, and they're all really impressive ones. So, will he get a title shot? I think it's very possible, but I think we're going to have to see what happens in October with RDR and Fluffy first, and then the UFC will probably decide from there. But overall, an outstanding win for Imavov on home soil, which had to feel really good. What's up, guys? Sorry to interrupt the podcast real quick, but we have a message for you guys.
If you enjoy her Hamburg's content, you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on the videos, all sorts of fight content as much as possible, podcasts, interviews, vlogs. We have it all over here, so thank you, appreciate it.
We appreciate you, and like he said, please subscribe, and now back to the show. And the Frenchmen, they all did really good on this card. And, let's get into the co-main event and talk about another Frenchman who did really well. Benoit Saint-Denis defeats Mauricio Ruffy. Bad night for the fighting nerds. he submitted Ruffy in the second round with a rear naked choke. Really just grabbed Ruffy from the get-go and was just hitting him with the "your grappling is zero," and easily just took him down multiple times. It was just a very impressive performance, and I think a lot of people thought that this one was going to be a war because both of these guys are really on the come up at the tail end of that top 15 of the lightweight division as far as the UFC rankings go, and it really just wasn't even close. Ruffy was getting backed up the whole time, and that's kind of what I mean when I said in the beginning that it seems like the fighting nerds don't really do as well backing up, because you have the main event here at UFC Paris. Imavov was doing his best when he was backing Borralho up. Benoit Saint-Denis was backing Ruffy up and did really well. If you want to go back a little bit, you have Ian Gary versus Carlos Prates. Similar thing. He wasn't letting Prates control the pace, and I think that that's the key right now against these fighting nerds, and we're going to see what happens next week too with Diego Lopez versus John Silva. I wonder if Diego is going to take any cues from these past few fights for the fighting nerds. But to get back into this co-main event, Benoit Saint-Denis just had his way with Ruffy on the ground, took him down multiple times. He has a lot of physical strength that he was able to use to keep Ruffy down, and after a while, it just seemed like Ruffy was a bit discouraged. Even when he was able to get up, he wasn't willing to really engage in the clinch and in the grappling, because there were a couple of times where Ruffy managed to reverse position or get into a dominant position either in the clinch or on top on the ground, and he just didn't seem to want to keep the fight there. And I kind of get that because he had a striking advantage, but when the striking isn't working already, you kind of have to change your game plan. And I don't think that Ruffy did a very good job at adjusting in this one. But for Benoit Saint-Denis to get this win, massive, especially again on home soil. The energy in that arena was outstanding. I loved watching it, and it's part of the reason why I don't like the Apex that much. Like, don't get me wrong, it has nothing to do with the fights themselves. A lot of the times those Apex cards are sneaky good, but that energy in the room is so important, and I feel like it hypes everyone up, even the people who are watching on television. So just an outstanding performance by two Frenchmen in the main and co-main event. And like I said, overall, just an outstanding card, a lot of finishes, a lot of good fights, bunch of highlights. And and I think next week is going to be even crazier just because of all the things we have lined up. I mean, outside of Dana White's Contender Series, which is always exciting, you have BKFC as well. But the big day is Saturday. Two huge cards, Noche UFC and Canelo versus Crawford on Netflix. I think Canelo versus Crawford is the biggest boxing match that we've had in this decade so far. And I just truly can't wait to see it. And then Noche UFC is going to be awesome too. That main event, like I mentioned earlier, Diego Lopez versus John Silva, absolutely outstanding. Rafa Garcia versus Jared Gordon has fight of the year potential in my opinion. Rob Font is back. Kelvin Gastelum is back. Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos is an insane fight at strawweight, buried on the prelims for whatever dumb reason, but it's neither here nor there. Two awesome cards on Saturday night, and me and Tiz will be back next week to preview them or to recap them for you. So until then, check out our new website. I know I've plugged that a few times on the pod lately. Our latest MMA rankings are up right now on our blog section, and we have some fun stuff planned on there for the future. And like I said, we'll be back next week to recap the two massive events that are happening on Saturday night in Canelo versus Crawford and Noche UFC. Hope you guys enjoyed this little solo pod from me today. Until next time, see y'all.
Easy guess.